Protesters in the U.S. feel that Michael Brown was singled out because of his race. And statistics show African Americans are arrested at a higher rate than other racial groups. Now, 12 to 13% of the U.S. population is black, but they account for about 37% of those in prison. The U.S. Justice Department says black men are 7 times more likely to be arrested than white non-Hispanic men. And one report alleges that once convicted, black offenders receive longer prison sentences. In 2012, about 1 out of every 10 black men was arrested, compared to about 1 out of every 20 white men. And several reports say that nearly 1 in every 3 black men will be arrested at some point in their lifetime. Now, CNN contributor LZ Granderson has been a regular part of our coverage of the Michael Brown story, and he joins us now live from Ferguson. LZ, thank you so much for joining us here on CNN International. What does the Ferguson case say about race relations across America?
Well, I think if you look at the 160 to 107 protests that have taken place since the non-indictment decision was made, you begin to realize that this conversation that we're having right now is so much larger than Michael Brown, Officer Darren Wilson, in Ferguson, Missouri. It is about some of the statistics you're talking about, that in every major city and even in our smaller ones, citizens are aware that there is a disparity in the way the criminal justice system impacts African-American men in particular against everyone else. And what this particular case brought to light was that you can have witnesses give detail about what they saw and that be ignored. In other words, the voice of the community talking about what they saw and that being ignored. And that's the reason why it sparked anger here in the city, and that's the reason why you've seen the connecting points all around this country.
LZ, in your latest column for CNN.com, you write that there is a problem, and there is a fundamental lack of trust and lack of empathy between minorities and police in America. And I was wondering if you could share with our audience your own personal experience. And how many times have you been stopped by the police in the U.S.?
Well, you know, I wrote in that piece that I've actually have lost count at the number of times in which I've been pulled over by police officers. But I will tell you the most recent time I was pulled over was actually yesterday. On the way to this particular set, I was stopped because the officer said I looked like someone. The first time that an officer pulled a gun out on me, I was 12 years old. He told me that I looked like someone. So we're talking about a 30-year gap in my life in which I continue to look like someone that the police officers are interested in. I've never committed a crime. I've never been prosecuted, but I keep feeling as if I'm persecuted. So that's part of the reason why I wrote this piece, and that's part of the reason why I came down here, to make sure that I'm able to tell the stories of the individuals who feel under siege in this community, but also, again, I can't stress this enough, more than 70 departments in this country reportedly have 10 times an arrest rate for black men as anyone else. That's the reason why I'm here, and that's the reason why I believe that so many people are upset about this story.
Now, let's talk about Darren Wilson and his testimony, because in that testimony, he describes Michael Brown as looking like, in his words, quote, a demon, and that he felt like a little kid trying to take on Hulk Hogan, a popular wrestler in the United States. I mean, does that kind of characterization raise alarms for you? Does it reveal a bias, a race bias to you?
Well, absolutely. You know, we have this conversation, those of us who have covered these type of situations, you know, over the years, and it's called the playbook. And in the playbook, one of the first things that law enforcement would try to do when it comes to men of color is dehumanize us, make us seem superhuman or not quite, you know, as an average person. And so that description that you see fits the playbook.
All right, LZ Granderson, CNN contributor and columnist, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your thoughts. Your piece on CNN.com, definitely worth watching. Want to let all of our audience across the world know about that. And thank you for joining us here on CNN. LZ Granderson joining us live from Ferguson, Missouri.